Today, we're stepping outside the ropes. We're entering the off-camera chapters of Gervonta Davis's life. The mansion's built from championship nights, the fleet of high-performance cars he commands, and the moments that threatened to derail it all. Arrests that made headlines, titles stripped away, choices that tested his legacy just as sharply as any left hook. This video peels back the image to reveal a side of Tank most never get to see. So before we dive in, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, because this journey into Tank's world is just getting started. Long before the crowds, the flashing cameras, and the glittering belts, there was a boy navigating the rough streets of Baltimore, where every corner held a lesson in survival. Born November 7th, 1994, Gervonta Davis learned early that life demanded toughness, and he answered the call. School couldn't contain him. The gym became his arena, and every punch thrown, there was a step toward a destiny that felt impossible to ignore. By the time he emerged on the world stage, Tank was more than a nickname. It was a promise of destruction. Compact, lightning fast, and relentless, he stunned every opponent, leaving fans holding their breath at each explosive victory. From his first professional knockout at just 18 to capturing the IBF Super Featherweight title against José Pedraza, his ascent was unstoppable. Every belt, every highlight reel knockout, from Leo Santa Cruz to the monumental clash with Ryan Garcia, cemented his place in boxing's elite. By early 2026, his net worth had climbed to an estimated $60 million, a testament not just to his dominance in the ring, but to the empire he's built on ambition, resilience, and unyielding drive. But for him, success isn't just a number on a balance sheet. It's a life transformed. Step inside the world he built beyond the ring, where championship nights turn into concrete, glass, and legacy. A world where victories aren't only measured in belts, but in every detail of the empire he commands. At the heart of it all stands a Florida mansion worth over $3.4 million, a modern fortress of glass, marble, and open space. Sunlight pours through towering windows, reflecting off polished floors that gleam like liquid gold. Inside, every room tells a story. A chef's kitchen crafted for perfection, a private movie theater for late-night escapes, and vast entertainment areas where celebrations, victories, and quiet moments unfold. Outside, a resort-style pool glimmers under swaying palms, a sanctuary far from the streets where he first learned to fight. But the true pulse of Tank's empire beats in the garage, a gallery of speed, power, and prestige. The USSV Rhino GX sits like its namesake, massive, armored, impossible to ignore. A Lamborghini Urus blends explosive power with everyday usability, while the McLaren 765 LT rockets to 60 miles per hour in under 3 seconds. Adrenaline incarnate. The Lamborghini Aventador screams down the street, pure drama in motion. Rolls-Royce Cullinan and Wraith bring comfort and elegance. Cadillac Escalade ESV adds swagger, and the Mercedes-AMG G63 commands respect. For fans of raw performance, the Chevrolet Corvette C8 Stingray and Ferrari 458 Italia deliver precision, speed, and unmistakable style. And the story doesn't stop at metal and horsepower. Tank's wrists gleam with Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Audemars Piguet, each watch a statement of success. Diamond-studded chains and rings, like his signature $2 million GDD chain, catch the light like trophies of a life fought for. His custom boxing shoes, priced between $5,000 to $10,000, tell a tale of precision and dedication, while designer clothing from Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and Balenciaga wraps him in the same luxury he commands elsewhere. But legends aren't born in luxury. They're forged long before the spotlight ever arrives. To understand the empire Tank commands today, we have to rewind to the moment he first announced himself to the world. When Gervonta "Tank" Davis made his professional debut, it wasn't just a fight. It was a declaration. Facing Desi Williams, a young contender like himself, he wasted no time. The bell barely rang before he unleashed a first-round knockout that left the crowd stunned, the air thick with awe, and the boxing world whispering one word. Something new, something explosive had arrived. From that first fight onward, he moved like a hurricane through his opponents. Each bout added to a momentum that seemed almost unstoppable, each victory another gust of wind pushing him higher. By the end of his second year, he was undefeated, his fists speaking with the clarity of someone who had learned early that survival required precision, speed, and unrelenting force. When he faced German Mraz, his first real test, he demonstrated a maturity beyond his years, pacing the six-round fight with tactical brilliance while landing devastating combinations that reminded everyone that his power wasn't just in his fists, it was in his mind. The turning point came when the world began to watch with bated breath. José Pedraza. Pedraza was no ordinary opponent. Undefeated, seasoned, and respected. The bright lights of Showtime illuminated a stage that could crush the unprepared. But Tank thrived under pressure. He moved like a chess master in motion, cutting off the ring with the poise of a veteran, delivering combinations with surgical precision. And then, in the seventh round, a knockout that would announce his arrival globally. Floyd Mayweather, already a mentor and guide, saw what the world was beginning to understand. This wasn't just a prodigy. This was the future boxing. From there, Davis's career became a symphony of power. He defended his IBF Super Featherweight title against Liam Walsh in a dazzling three-round demolition, each punch a statement of dominance. Even when he stumbled, losing his belt on the scales before facing Francisco Fonseca, Tank responded in the only language he knew, violence and mastery. That chaotic, controversial fight ended with an eighth-round knockout that reaffirmed his position as the division's most dangerous puncher. In 2018, he returned with renewed ferocity, annihilating Jesus Cuellar to claim the WBA Super Featherweight title. Watching Davis in the ring that night was like witnessing a natural disaster unfold in slow motion. A second-round knockdown, followed by two in the third, each more devastating than the last, proving he was no ordinary champion. His rhythm was undeniable. Israel Suarez, Alberto Mora, Ricardo Núñez. Opponents came hoping to survive, but survival against Tank was a fleeting illusion. By 2019, Davis's reputation had spread far beyond the gyms of Baltimore. Fans filled arenas not just to see him win, but to witness how he would do it. Victory, with Tank, was rarely a decision. It was demolition. The transition to lightweight brought fresh challenges and a new title to chase. Against Yuriorkis Gamboa, a veteran with rounds of experience and tactical cunning, Tank showed that his violence could stretch beyond the early rounds. Two precise knockdowns and a 12th-round knockout secured the WBA lightweight title. Proof that a champion's power isn't measured solely in early blows, but in the endurance, adaptability, and heart to finish strong. Then came the fight that would etch his name permanently into boxing history. Leo Santa Cruz. A four-division champion, a fighter of skill, grit, and star power, Santa Cruz seemed almost untouchable. But Tank's uppercut was the kind of punch legends are made of. So clean, so precise, it left the world in shock. Santa Cruz fell, motionless, while Davis stood above him, not merely as a rising star, but as a legend in the making. That knockout earned Knockout of the Year and became a highlight reel replayed endlessly, cementing Tank's place in the annals of the sport. Yet, his hunger could not be sated by a single division. He moved up to super lightweight to face Mario Barrios, a taller, undefeated opponent, and the bout became an epic battle of endurance, strategy, and sheer will. Tank was rocked early, forced to dig deeper than ever before, yet his resilience shone through. He claimed another world title, proving that his greatness was not limited to a single weight class, but was a statement of dominance across the sport. The victories kept coming, each one a testament to his relentless pursuit of excellence. Rolando Romero fell to a perfectly timed left hand that stunned Brooklyn. Hector Luis Garcia was outclassed and unable to continue. And in one of the most anticipated bouts of this era, Davis dismantled Ryan Garcia with a brutal body shot, a reminder to the world that his power was destiny, not hype. Today, Gervonta Davis stands as one of the most electrifying, feared, and formidable fighters in the world. Undefeated, a multi-division champion, a knockout artist whose highlights play like symphonies of destruction. And yet, the question has never stopped following him. How much higher can he rise? Away from the roar of arenas and the flash of cameras, there exists a world few ever see. A world where power isn't measured in knockouts, but in responsibility, reflection, and the quiet moments that shape a man. Here, Davis isn't just a fighter. He is a father, a protector, a soul searching for peace in the chaos fame has brought. He has 3 children, a daughter with ex-girlfriend Andretta Smothers, and a second daughter and a son with Vanessa Passo. Their laughter, their tiny hands wrapped around his fingers, became the anchor he never knew he needed. Every belt he lifts, every jet he boards, every flash of camera, he carries them with him. Each one is a reminder that strength isn't only forged in the ring. In a move that surprised even his closest friends, Davis embraced Islam, taking the name Abdul Wahid. A decision he says brought clarity, calm, and a sense of direction he had long been searching for. For the first time, the chaos seemed to quiet. The noise softened, the pace slowed. But peace, especially in a life lived at full speed, is rarely permanent. Because even as tanks search for balance, the past didn't loosen its grip. Pressure began to build beyond the spotlight. Quiet at first, then impossible to ignore. Legal battles gathered like storm clouds, threatening to test him in ways no opponent ever could. And that's when the story shifted. Because fame doesn't just elevate, it exposes. For Gervonta Davis, the cheers of arenas and the flash of cameras have always masked another, darker narrative, a story the world rarely sees. Just as Tank was stacking knockouts and collecting belts, small sparks began to flare behind the scenes. Confrontations, heated arguments, moments where emotion erupted into consequences no fighter could fight off. Those sparks grew, fueled by fame, friction, and the pressures of a life lived under scrutiny, until they became a blaze that followed him into courtrooms instead of press conferences, mugshots instead of victory photos, headlines questioning his path rather than celebrating his power. The most shocking moment came after a late-night crash that left multiple people injured, including a pregnant woman. Witnesses said he fled. Prosecutors said he was responsible. For a man who had once evaded punches like a ghost, there was no way to slip this one. Probation, house arrest, jail time. Each setback was a reminder that even the undefeated could be knocked down outside the ring. Then came the domestic violence allegations that dominated headlines. In November 2025, a lawsuit claimed he assaulted a former girlfriend at Miami strip club. Surveillance footage, incident reports, and eyewitness testimony painted a grim picture. The fallout was immediate. A restraining order, the cancellation of a high-profile exhibition fight against Jake Paul, and in January 2026, the WBA stripped him of his lightweight title, making him champion in recess. This pattern wasn't new. Years of arrests and accusations, domestic disputes, physical altercations, and publicized incidents had followed him like a shadow. Each event chipped away at the untouchable mythology of Tank, shifting public perception from rising superstar to a man wrestling both his opponents and his own demons. Yet few know the other side of Tank's life, the empire he has built beyond the ring. While headlines focused on scandal, he was expanding businesses, investing in real estate, and growing a luxury lifestyle that mirrors Floyd Mayweather's mastery of wealth and branding. But the question lingers, sharper than ever. Can Gervonta Davis overcome the personal demons that threaten his legacy? Can a man who dominates arenas also master the life outside of them, protecting his empire, his family, and his name? Or will the shadows of his choices define him more than the brilliance of his fists ever could? So once the gloves are hung up and the roar of the crowd fades, what truly remains of Gervonta "Tank" Davis? A fighter? A legend? A businessman? Or a man still navigating the shadows and triumphs of a life few could imagine? If you love this deep dive, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, And make sure you're subscribed for even more inside looks into boxing's biggest names. And while you're here, check out our full breakdown of Junto Nakatani's journey. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you ringside in the next one.